invite you to a world premiere.
Oh, yeah.
Of one of the biggest movies of the year.
Doesn't get any bigger than that.
Aladdin and the King of Thieves. Aladdin and Jasmine's dreams are finally coming true.
This is a happy day.
But a band of notorious thieves.
Open sesame.
And a long-kept secret.
Our father is alive.
Lead Aladdin into his greatest adventure ever.
Show me the way. Follow the train of the 40 thieves. Your father is trapped within there. That would be a problem. Let's get out on the land. Taking whatever we please. Got lots of grub to share. Pull up an easy chair. Welcome to the 40 Thieves.
Aladdin and the King of Thieves features 5 brand new songs and reunites all your favorite characters from Aladdin, including the genie, brought to life again by the one and only Robin Williams.
It's a kinder, gentler genie. Look at it.
This summer, live the adventure.
Don't stand a chance against the King of Thieves.
And take part in the wedding of the century.
We're finally getting married.
Finally getting married.
I'm finally getting married.
Let's get married at the party.
Aladdin and the King of Thieves. The party starts August 13th.
Of course, this is the continuation of the Aladdin story that started, of course, with the 1992 movie, was then followed with the direct-to-video sequel, Return of Jafar, which that led into the Aladdin TV series, and this is this movie that's going to wrap everything up. And Return of Jafar was not a bad movie per se. It was definitely underwhelming compared to the original Aladdin movie, but this was only Disney's second direct-to-video sequel they ever did, which is amazing when you consider how many they would do later on down the road. But with Aladdin and the King of Thieves, you definitely see they get a major step up in the terms of quality, the animation, and overall the far superior sequel to come out at that point. But then again, it was only 2 movies. But does it make it a worthy follow-up to Aladdin? Sort of, but let me put it this way. You can definitely give the movie credit for tackling more of the story of Aladdin's father and his mysterious past. The father is voiced by Jonathan Rhys-Davies. He does a fine job in the role, but the big problem with the storyline is that they're definitely trying their hardest to create this long-lost father-son bond, and the movie just can't quite make it simple enough for the audience to understand. In fact, it kind of makes it more convoluted because neither Aladdin nor his father's motivations make a lot of sense. They kind of flip-flop on several occasions throughout the movie. And because of that, the subplot that should be interesting, considering this is made for kids, is not really interesting because most kids will be very confused by what they had seen. Also, Jasmine's kind of a downturn in this movie. She doesn't really get a whole lot to do here. She's kind of relegated once again to the damsel in distress. And at least in the last movie in the TV series, they gave her more to do. But she's probably not given all that much to do because of the fact that Robin Williams is back as the genie. Now, that's why I wanted to bring this up here, because there's a little bit of an interesting history between what happened with the first Aladdin and Robin Williams. I talked about it then, how Robin Williams was not upset because the genie was the main focus of the marketing for Aladdin, which in the end helped out the movie overall, but it kind of went against what Robin Williams was supposed to had him to deal with Disney, and he basically, for a long period of time, wanted nothing to do with them. So they reconciled, they got back to it, and Robin Williams came back to play the genie again for the King of Thieves, and it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Not because Dan Castellaneta, who had played the genie in the TV series as well as Return of Jafar, was bad or anything, but it's good because Robin Williams is back as the genie, and a lot of his stuff does get a genuine good laugh, but at the same time, it seems a lot more like the focus is put more on the genie to do more shtick because of that deal that Williams got to come back, and so in a way, you are essentially kind of dreading his return on screen, although he still gives you good laughs in return. Again, it's kind of a seesaw on what's good and what's bad. The music overall is very well done. This is Carl Johnson and Mark Waters giving a nice composition to the film to give it a more epic feel. The animation overall is incredible. It's amazing that this was done by the same team that did the series, and they go above and beyond with the budget that they had to give this a huge, epic, proper send-off. I mean, there's notable improvements in terms of more lighting and shading. Some of the more emotional and heavy scenes are here. It's like giving on a budget on the level of something like a Goofy movie. This would have looked so much like the first movie again at some points, and for a direct-to-video sequel, it definitely does manage to use its budget to good use. I also did appreciate how it does bookend the Aladdin storyline, with the film ending in the same way that the first movie started, with the peddler telling a story, and while it's not voiced by Robin Williams this time around, it's since been confirmed that the peddler was Genie all along, so that's a nice little contribution they made to the film. Overall, I think this is definitely a step up from Return of Jafar in terms of the better animation, the better storytelling, the better action. There's more effort being put into it. And if you're going to watch an Aladdin sequel, this is probably the best one to watch. If not only is it an enjoyable movie, but it does a very good job of bookending the story over that 4-year span, and essentially putting a great end to another Arabian Nights. So, that is Aladdin and the King of Thieves. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie I have on this list here, and that is The Late Shift.
There was a king.
This is the last year that I'm doing the Tonight Show.
His loyal subjects.
Flip a coin. Jay, Dave, doesn't matter to them.
How could a television show be worth this much embarrassment?
A fairy godfather.
We shall frame a deal that will make you one of the giants.
The queen mother of all managers.
See, I don't have a contract with you. I can move Jay to CBS within a month.
HBO Pictures comes clean about night TV's dirtiest fight. The Late Shift, coming this month, only on HBO.
So why am I bringing up The Late Shift? Well, The Late Shift is, of course, based off of the book by Bill Carter talking about the controversial decision to put Jay Leno as the host of The Tonight Show over David Letterman, and the back and forth that happened between the two. And this is a film that I was really looking forward to because I had read the book. I was really invested in this, especially during the late night war that happened between Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien for The Tonight Show in 2010. So this is my first time seeing that movie back then. And right off the bat, you can kind of see what the first problem with the movie is, and that is John Michael Higgins as David Letterman. Not to say that John Michael Higgins is a bad actor, but for some reason, they give David Letterman red hair. He looks more like Conan O'Brien than David Letterman. I mean, why red hair? Like, why is that something that they needed to add to that? Why not just go with David Letterman's real hair at the time back then, like the real hair color? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean. But at the same time, you look at Jay Leno, who's played by Daniel Roebuck in this movie, and he actually does kind of look like Jay Leno. They do a good job of getting the chin too, and he does a good job with the mannerisms as well. I think it is a very solid. I think that's a better job than what they did with David Letterman in here. But on top of that, but then again, this goes back to a lot of the problems that I have with the movie because they kind of change things around from the book, and it's just like for example, there's a part where they're cutting away to New York after these two executives from CBS see Jay Leno and try to get him to replace Pat Sajak for the host of their late night show. And they cut away to New York and David Letterman, who's finishing an interview with Sandra Bernhard, which, by the way, the credits literally have it in the casting, and Sandra Bernhard as herself. Like, she's part of the main cast, even though this scene is the only scene that she's in the entire movie. It's just like I don't know if it was her contract that she had to be in part of the main cast or something, but she's literally in the movie for that one segment in the beginning, and then that's it. She's gone. But David Letterman's also seen as kind of a dick in this movie. He's kind of seen as a petty child. Like, he's incredibly bitter for no reason whatsoever. They don't give you a reason to root for Letterman here, even though he's the one who's getting royally screwed over by NBC pretty much. It's like the movie's trying to make the argument that this is what he was in real life, when there's clearly none of that whatsoever. I mean, it's just off. It's just really, really off on how they portrayed this character. One of the highlight characters is Kathy Bates playing Helen Kushnick, who, funnily enough, filed a $30 million lawsuit against Bill Carter, saying that the way she was portrayed in this movie was completely not true, even though it is kind of what it essentially did eventually they turn out to be when you have people talking about what she was in real life, because this woman that Pat Bates is playing died 6 months before the movie came out. 6 months after this movie came out, I should say. So, I don't know, that's a tough thing to really say about it. But one of the other things that I really didn't like about the movie is that Jay Leno and David Letterman really do not have any screen time in this movie. There's one scene where you see the two of them together, and it's during an Emmys, I think it's an after party, and they go their separate ways, and that's the only time you ever see them together on screen. So it's just like this happened in 1992, and you would think that maybe there would have been some more scenes with them, but they just completely go away. Like, there's no real point to it whatsoever of how they did that, and of why not have them in more scenes. And then you kind of get the behind-the-scenes stuff from the book. You hear about how Jay Leno was offered $6 million to go to CBS. You hear about how Brandon Tartikoff left NBC, and Helen Kushnick essentially put the thing in the New York Post saying that NBC wanted Carson out and put Jay Leno in. That stuff actually happened. And then you get to the fall release schedule scene where Johnny Carson announces his big retirement from The Tonight Show. And if you look at the schedule in the background, it's the schedule for the year after this, so they didn't even bother to check the timeline. Because that's the schedule for 92, because Cosby's not on there, Night Court's not on there, Mad About You is on there. That schedule did not take place until 1992. And then it cuts to Johnny Carson, who here is played by Rich Little, who It's Rich Little. Rich Little is known for doing these impersonations of different celebrities very well, but the face, the makeup on him, like, what is, when you see him as Johnny Carson in this, it's just kind of like, what the hell am I looking at here? Like, you got the voice down, but that does not look like Johnny Carson whatsoever. And it's interesting because in the book, Carson's talking about a humorous story, and he kind of plants it in the middle that he's leaving the Tonight Show, even going as far as to say he's leaving on this specific date, May 22nd, 1992. But in the movie, he's just out there saying, hey, I'm leaving on May 22nd, 1992, see you later, and then just leaves. Like, never comes back again until the end of the movie, and it's just like, you could easily buy into the feeling that these two had a good time together in real life, Johnny Carson and David Letterman, because David Letterman has Johnny on the show that same day, who comes in, but in that scene, when they reenact the scene in the movie, Little and Higgins seem really forced. Like, they have too many moments of uncontrollable laughter in there, plus you have that continuing prevalence of Letterman hating his job so much so that you wonder why he even wants the Tonight Show in the first place. It's just like this movie, like I said, it clearly makes David Letterman look like the bad guy in this. Like, it's amazing how they pull this off. But I'm kind of running down the movie overall, so I'll just kind of make this quick here. Some of the other things I liked Treat Williams as Mike Ovitz. I think he does a very good job in here. It's completely unlike the real Michael Ovitz, but Treat Williams is a very good actor, and this is probably one of his strongest roles as a actor. I mean, I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot, and for the most part, it does play itself close enough to Bill Carter's original book, but at the same time, it tries way too hard to build up some of the more dramatic moments in there. The recreations of some of the more key moments are way off. Higgins' Letterman is way too angry at himself to be likable. It does seem like this movie version makes the argument that Jay is the true hero here, and Letterman's the one-sided jackass who just can't get the hint. And with all that said, it does a good enough job to get entertainment out of it. It's directed by Betty Thomas, who did the Brady Bunch movie and would have Private Parts come out this year. But I think the cast overall does a decent job filling the roles that they have. If you want the history of this infamous late-night war, I'd say read the book. You get more of an experience out of it. But the movie itself is okay. Just don't go in expecting a masterpiece. So, well, now that I've wasted 6 minutes on that, I actually should do a full review on this, because this would be fascinating to talk about in a full review, but I'm already taking up too much of your time here. So let's just go ahead and get to the next film, and that is Project Alf.
Settling, the government couldn't kill him.
I'm going to show you some pictures.
Are they of you?
No.
Good. The network couldn't cancel him.
Tell me what frightens you.
Besides the Fox network? Now, Alf is back. How do you feel about dating outside of your species? In the all-new Grade A film, the government doesn't want you to see. You're jerking my chain. Martin Sheen, Ray Walston, and Miguel Ferrer. In Project Alf. Any chance of getting a cappuccino?
So this was the movie that was supposed to wrap up everything that the series couldn't do, because what happened was that NBC changed their plans for the last season of Alf to have one extra episode, so the storyline they had set up in the final episode could be resolved in a two-part finale, but the first half aired with a to be continued, but the network decided to cancel the show after 5 years, and so it took them 6 years to really go back to the story and to finish and to wrap it up. And right from the get-go with this movie, you feel like this is not really intended to be an actual finale, a real conclusion, because for the most part, like most of the characters from the Alf TV series, the Tanner family is nowhere to be found in this movie. None of the actors from that movie show up. The only person that really does show up in this is Beverly Archer, who was Mrs. Byrne on the TV series, but she plays somebody else completely in this movie. And I think that's one of the reasons why this movie doesn't work so well, is because for something that you're advertising as the final chapter of Alf, the story that was supposed to be in the final episode, it just doesn't work here. And it's just, as much as I'd like to see Paul Fusco returning as Alf in this character again, like, it just doesn't work as well as I think it should. They have a lot of good people in this movie: Martin Sheen, Ray Walston, Ed Begley Jr., Miguel Ferrer. But when you're not concluding the story that you had set up beforehand, what's the point of even making this movie if you're trying to just get people to get the hype up so maybe you can start this up again? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me personally, I didn't think it did this show any justice by not having the conclusion that they promised 6 years ago. It just felt like a movie that was trying to be the starting point for a potential new series instead of being the actual finale to a series that was canceled just a little bit ahead of its time. or a little bit before it was time. But then again, even Paul Fusco himself made a recent joke of him in the Simpsons Couch Next, saying that no, it ended at the right time. And I still like seeing Alf on every once in a while. He had that show on TV Land, which was kind of an amusing idea, but not really that great overall. But anytime this guy returns to this role, it is fun to see this character again. I just wish we got a real proper finale to the series instead of just a movie that was disguising itself as a finale, but it was really just a TV movie to try to get the series going again. Yeah, not a very good film. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie I have on here, and that is Welcome to the Dollhouse.
It's a people club.
Special people equals retarded. Your club is for retards.
Yeah, this movie gets pretty deep, and I was actually surprised when I did this on Box Office Mojo, and I tried to look for this movie on there. It was not on any of the box office that I saw on there. It came out on May 24th, 1996, and this is one of the notable movies that came out that year because it was a film that was on many people's Best of the Year list. It was considered a big hit overall, critically and critically, and I mean, like I said, it's a movie that has held the test of time because you can still watch this movie and still get a lot of deep material out of it. I mean, Heather Matarazzo is great as the little girl in here. It's got a really good cast overall here, a really solid story to tell, and it's a really fun little black comedy. It's a film that really is well done, visually pleasing to look at. It's an amazing looking film, and it's just a really amazing film that I was really surprised it was not on the list when I did this weekend in particular. But I'm glad I got to do this, to check this out again recently, because this movie's actually really damn good. I mean, it's a really solid, gripping, insanely intelligent black comedy that, again, still holds up over 30 years later, and almost 30 years later, I should say. But I really enjoyed this movie. I really think people should go out and look for it if you haven't seen it already. It's definitely one of the best independent movies to come out during the decade of the 90s. So that's Welcome to the Dollhouse. Let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Theodore Rex.
The future's toughest cop is Katie Coltrane.
I'm back.
And now, she's getting a new partner.
Dun, 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 dun.
His name is Teddy.
It's a dinosaur.
You two solved this case together.
Oh, what? It's a dinosaur.
New partner, Coltrane?
He's got the style.
I'm here for a new look.
Step right up.
Push the button.
He's a cop.
Mahalo!
You gotta make him look like a real cop.
I'm too sexy for my clothes.
That thing at the table just clapped at me.
He's got horns for you. It's very normal.
He's got the charm.
Your mind shut down and your glands have taken over.
And he's got the appetite
You cannot eat our only suspect.
to come out
Yes.
on time.
I'm amazing.
New Line Cinema presents
And you think you're gonna get somebody?
Whoopi Goldberg.
Can you just slide your butt? Yeah, that's great.
Like that?
And introducing
Dougie!
Teddy.
Sweets. One for customer.
Theodore Rex. It's a tale you'll never forget.
I love when he does that.
So let's talk about this movie because there is a lot to digest in here. First off, Whoopi Goldberg basically agreed to star in this in '92, and she tried to back out, but one of the producers of the film, Richard Gilbert Abramson, actually filed a $20 million lawsuit against Goldberg, which was settled quickly, and she agreed to star in the film for $7 million, two more than what was originally agreed upon. And one of the attorneys on the case basically said it was similar to what happened with Kim Basinger when she tried to back out of Boxing Helena. But more importantly, this movie was originally supposed to go to theaters in Christmas of '95. But they basically said that what they said at first was that a glut of competition, a rush on post-production work, and the effects-heavy film led New Line Cinema to delay the film. They were going to release it to coincide with Whoopi Goldberg hosting the Oscars that year, but then they decided to release it on video. They took a movie that had a huge budget I think last time when I talked about this, I said it was $80 million, but it was actually much less than that. But this is still pretty expensive. $33.5 million. They took a $33 million budgeted movie, shelved it to video, and it instantly made it the most expensive direct-to-video release at the time, which, when you do that, that's going to be the case. But they did this because this movie failed in test marketing in Vegas, Memphis, Portland, Maine, Providence. Bottom line, this is a bad movie. This is a terrible, terrible movie. I mean, it's got promise to it. The idea of a buddy cop movie with a human cop and a dinosaur could lead to something really funny and clever. But again, you need really good talent to make it work. And Whoopi Goldberg can be very good. The guy who plays the Theodore Rex, George Newbern, who was in Father of the Bride and also later will play Superman, he's a good actor. He's been in some decent stuff, but man, this writer and director they got, somebody who doesn't even have any other movies besides this movie. You don't give a first-timer a movie like this. Jonathan Buttel's the director here. And I don't know if he's a first-timer or not, but when you go to Wikipedia, there's no link to anything he's ever done. So I'm just going to take it that this is his first movie he ever made. And that was your first mistake right there. You should have gotten somebody else to try to make this work. And write a better script, too, because, man, this is not a good script at all. Even the visual effects, which can look pretty cool at times, really does not look good here in this movie. This is Jim Henson's Creature Shop doing the animatronics on here, and it's just like, ugh, just like, this is an ugly, ugly movie that's just like, wow. It also would help if your main characters were likable people, but you don't like Teddy whatsoever. You do not like this dude because he's so obnoxious, he's so annoying, and like, his big thing is that he uses his tail to whip people around, and that's supposed to be comedy. He loves cookies, that's comedy too. And Whoopi Goldberg's not even that written well either. I mean, it's just like, it's a mess. It's a huge, huge mess of a movie, and I cannot believe that they went this direction with it and didn't realize that this was not going to fly whatsoever with the people that they have behind it. Again, get a better writer, get a better director, get a better idea of what you want to do, and then you might have had something, but this is garbage. This is a garbage film, but it's one of the most notable movies to come out in '96 because of the story behind the scenes. So, let's try to lighten the mood a little bit. Let's talk about some re-releases that came out that year, including starting off with one of my favorite movies of all time.
Brothers is proud to present the 25th anniversary of a modern classic, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Hidden among the countless billions of Wonka bars are 5 gold tickets.
Willy Wonka's opening his factory. He's gonna let people in.
I've got the same chance as anybody else, haven't I?
You got more, Charlie, because you wanted more.
25 years ago, Charlie won a ticket to the most magical place on earth.
All aboard, everybody.
This way, Grandpa.
What is this, Wonka? Some kind of fun house?
Why, having fun?
Remember how it delighted you?
It makes everlasting gobstoppers.
How do you make them?
I'm a trifle deaf in this ear. Speak a little louder next time.
How it surprised you?
Haven't got it quite right yet.
How it amazed you?
Where's the chocolate?
There it is.
It's unbelievable.
It's Wonka vision.
Return to the world of Willy Wonka, where life can be sweet,
Hey, this is really great.
and every child gets his just desserts.
Don't touch a thing. Stuck in the pipe there, isn't he, Wonka? The suspense is terrible. He's going to go this time. Oh, but laugh.
It's absolutely bonkers. That's not bad.
No life I know. Feel the wonder all over again.
I decided a long time ago that I had to find a child to whom I can tell all my candy-making secrets.
Celebrate the 25th anniversary return of
Here it comes!
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Your golden ticket to imagination and adventure.
That movie is, of course, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which was celebrating its 25th anniversary and was re-released in the theaters in July of '96. So, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the creative energy to its casting, the setting, the overall story elements. Gene Wilder does a great job representing Willy Wonka as both the adult that he is on the outside and the child he is on the inside. You can also see the joy that he takes in this role. He's happy to be involved with this film. The kids are memorable. Of course, you're going to like Charlie the most out of everybody, but they definitely, you like the kids for how just they have no remorse in their lives whatsoever, which makes it all the more enjoyable when they get their comeuppance, and it's just so hilarious and fun to see what happens there. The songs are very catchy and memorable. The movie ends with a good message about how if you're not irresponsible, good things will happen to you, and the way it's portrayed in the final scenes are nicely done. There are scenes that are not that great, even though I like the tunnel scene. It just feels like one of those moments that are completely out of nowhere, dark and pointless, but again, it's not a bad thing per se. I still really enjoy it, but it is kind of pointless. But then again, that's kind of the charm of the movie here, and it's just like, you know, this movie is such a classic compared to, and doesn't even compare to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I like that movie. I just don't think it's that great of a film overall, but Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is just a great family classic that I grew up to love as a kid, and it's simply one of the best. Needless to say, I love this movie to death. I'll watch it anytime it comes on TV. It's a classic movie. That's all I really got to say about it. So let's go ahead and move on to the other re-release I wanted to bring up, and that is the re-release of Vertigo.
I wake up at night seeing that man fall from the roof, and I try to reach out to him. It's just...
It wasn't your fault.
Do you believe that someone out of the past, someone dead, can enter and take possession of a living being?
You jumped into the bay, you didn't know where you were, you guessed, but you didn't know.
I didn't jump, I fell. You
Why
told
did
me
you
I
jump?
fell.
Why did you jump?
Please don't ask me. Please don't ask me. What is this? What do you want?
I just want to know who you are.
I remind you of her.
I need you to be Madeline for a while.
So this was essentially part of a plan that they actually put in place almost 15 years prior to this movie getting re-released. There was a trailer that was put out by Universal with Jimmy Stewart talking about how they're going to re-release 5 of Alfred Hitchcock's classic movies, and you're going to see that right now.
He was one of the great geniuses of the movies. He was the master of suspense, romance, and the macabre. He was the remarkable Alfred Hitchcock. This is Jimmy Stewart, and I want to tell you about a very special event. The return of 5 Hitchcock pictures unseen for more than a decade. 5 films from Hitch's private collection. Vertigo. The man who knew too much. Nothing will ever hold you like Alfred Hitchcock's rope. And then there was all that trouble with Harry. Those feet belong to Harry, the corpse who won't stay buried. And finally, my own favorite, Rear Window. I hope you'll join me in welcoming back Vertigo, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Rope, The Trouble with Harry, and Rear Window. Experience the genius of Alfred Hitchcock.
So you see it there. The plan was going to be Rear Window, The Trouble with Harry, Rope, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and Vertigo. But as far as I know, this is the only one that I've seen that actually did get a re-release that I know came out in 1996. Not saying that Rear Window, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Trouble with Harry, and Rope didn't get re-releases up at that point, but This is the only one that I know that got a theatrical release in this and a release date from 1996. And of course, this is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. It features Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak, and it's a really great film. It's a really great film that showcases everything that you can expect from an Alfred Hitchcock movie. It's got these gorgeous shots that still look amazing after all these years, and a great climax at the end that you do not see coming whatsoever. And I think that's very bold and unique for what they did, especially for 1958. That must have been a big surprise when that came out. But this particular re-release was seen as kind of controversial because they restored color. They actually created new audio with modern sound effects mixed in using DTS digital sound. And the restoration actually premiered in October of '96. And they had to do this because the original negatives, the colors were fading. And so a new negative was created from the silver separation masters. But in many instances, it was impossible because of differential separation shrinkage. And because the 1958 separations were poorly made, they actually had to use 3 individual films, one from each of the primary colors, to make sure that, and they also had to shrunk in different and erratic proportions to make the realignments impossible to do, which, in the end, it was seen as kind of controversial, and they actually did a better 4K restoration of it in 2014, where they basically, they put in some previously unknown stereo soundtracks. They removed some of the excessive Foley that was in the restoration, and it's a much better version than what we got in this 96 version. I've never seen this 96 one, so I can't really say for certain, but this is not the first time that Universal would add modern sounding to a classic film, because they did that with Scarface when they re-released it on Blu-ray for the first time. There was clearly a much different track that they used for Scarface, because the sound effects from the explosions in there in particular were much more clearer and more bigger and grander than they were in the original release. I'm not going to show you the difference here, but you can definitely look for that stuff online. But so it was an interesting re-release, to say the least. I don't really have much more to say about Vertigo itself. I mean, it's a classic movie. It's one of Hitchcock's most memorable films for a good reason. Some amazing shots, a great ending, great acting from Stewart and Novak. Not much more I can say about it that hasn't already been said. Vertigo is a pretty damn good movie. So, on to the last film. Let's see it as one of the worst movies of 1996, and that is Mad Dog Time.
Run out of people to kill me. Don't look at me, I just ran out of bullets.
Ellen Barkin, Gabriel Byrne, Richard Dreyfuss, Jeff Goldblum, Diane Lane, Larry Bishop, Gregory Hines, Kyle MacLachlan, Burt Reynolds.
Then, go home, pack your bags, and leave town.
Nobody tells me what to do. Ow!
Ben, hop home, pack your bags, and leave town.
Is that you talking, Vic? Or is it the medication? Ow!
Ben, roll home, pack your bags, and leave town.
And sadly, that's the crux of this movie. People show up, names you know, and they get killed off. I mean, if you had a better script, maybe this could work, but if that's really all this movie is, then what's the point of even making it? It's kind of like the equivalent to Mars Attacks, where you have all these big names in here, except they get killed off in these ways here, and the jokes aren't really all that funny. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, Richard Dreyfuss, Gabriel Byrne, Ellen Barkin, Diane Lane, Gregory Hines, Kyle MacLachlan, Burt Reynolds, Henry Silva, Angie Everhart, Billy Idol, Paul Anka, Rob Reiner, Joey Bishop, Richard Pryor. There's names in this movie, and it's just like, how do you not make a movie this good? But it comes back to what happened with Theodore Rex. I mean, you have a director who does not really have a good track record. He's not made a ton of movies, and I think that's really one of the biggest problems with the film, is that it's just not fun. There's no fun whatsoever. It's a boring movie. You have all these good talents here, and there's just nothing there to really make it worth it in the end. I mean, it's a pretty bad movie. It was seen on the worst of the year list, especially by Siskel and Ebert, who basically said watching this movie is not preferable to 1 hour and 45 minutes of looking at a blank wall. And that should just tell you everything you need to know about this movie, how bad it is. I mean, it's a lackluster film, to say the least. It's one of the worst movies of the year, and I wanted to bring that up in here, so that's Mad Dog Time.
in the museum security, you were the last one to leave last night. Did you see or hear anything strange?
Well, I thought I heard something as I was leaving, but it could have been anything.
Sweeping teams of 2. Nobody goes in alone. This place is not going to open until every room is clear. I'll go.
Come out, wherever you are.
Any idea about a weapon?
Something big.
The board is hosting a gala preview here tomorrow night. It would be a disaster for us if we had to postpone.
We may have somebody on our hands who makes Jeffrey Dahmer look like a Cub Scout. You have to let the gala go on. Something's wrong.
Come on, what's the matter with you?
Homo sapien.
Pardon? What are you talking about?
Gradual extinction of the human race.
That trailer definitely left a lasting impact on my life. The first time I ever saw that trailer was on Beavis and Butthead Do America, the videotape for that, and I just remember seeing that trailer, and for someone like me who's not a big horror movie guy, it got me so invested, because it looked legitimately terrifying at the same time. It did look legitimately terrifying, but as I found out later on, there was actually another trailer for this, a teaser trailer, which definitely is a major step down. You're going to see what I mean when I show you it.
There are secrets better left unknown, and treasures better left undiscovered. In 1995, a scientific expedition found something that transforms myths into nightmares. Something that gives shape to fear and form to evil. Something as powerful as it is deadly. They should never have seen it. They should never have touched it. And then they did the unthinkable. They brought it back.
I mean, I get the intention, but having the monster breathing like that with the window going back and forth like that, I know it was supposed to be scary, but man, that did not look good at all. I mean, the trailer itself looked kind of interesting, but it's kind of ruined when you see that the glass just blowing back and forth like that. It looks really lazy, and I felt like they could have done a whole lot better with that. But I digress. It's been a long time since I actually got a chance to see the movie for the first time, and I gotta say, man, when I saw the movie, I was legitimately surprised at how good it was. This was a film that was based off of a book by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, and it's a film that, like I said, it's opening in January. It's not usually a good month for movies, but the movie actually really is very intriguing. You basically have a story where you have this detective and biologist trying to defeat this South American lizard-like monster who's on a killing spree in the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, which actually was supposed to be the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, but they couldn't reach a deal with the city, and the Field Museum in Chicago took up the chance to do it. And also of note, this is actually the second film that both Penelope Ann Miller and Linda Hunt have also been in, the first one being Kindergarten Cop, which came out 7 years prior to this. And, you know, for the most part, the movie is very good. I was actually really surprised at how intense this movie gets at times. I mean, the first trailer I showed you really was a good a good estimation of what the movie actually ended up being. Like, you really, it's not a groundbreaking film whatsoever, but it is a genuinely fun and terrifying film. I mean, you've got a monster here that has the effects of Stan Winston's company, and he will turn out a very good makeup work. So it was cool to see what they did with that. I mean, this is a film that really is so, like, it's a tense movie. It's a movie that's so tense, you're on the edge of your seat. It's not really anything groundbreaking or anything too exciting, but it is still a really fun movie. And for someone like me who really does not like a lot of horror movies, I don't usually go out to see a lot of these horror films, I was genuinely surprised at how much I really enjoyed this movie. But then again, this also was written by Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, who later would go on, literally their next movies were the Planet of the Apes trilogies and Jurassic World and then The Heart of the Sea. I mean, these guys, these two people have written some great movies later on down the road. So maybe that's why I really liked it so much, because I could definitely see their writing in this. And this is Peter Hyams, who also did Sudden Death and Time Cop, which were both very fun movies that came out before this movie did. So maybe there's a lot more in here that I didn't see coming before I really understood, before I really took a look at who was involved in this. And I thought, okay, that makes more sense now why this movie's actually kind of fun. I mean, it is a fun movie overall. It's a movie that I'd say definitely give it a shot. It's one of those big surprises that you don't see coming. You see it opening in January, you see it opening there, and you think it's not going to be any good because this is a dumping ground month, but it surprisingly was pretty good. I was actually genuinely surprised at how much I really enjoyed it, so I'd highly recommend checking it out. Even if you're not the biggest horror movie person, the trailers alone should really get you invested in this movie, just on the way it's built up. At least that first trailer, at least not the original teaser trailer. But yeah, The Relic was surprisingly pretty good. I'd highly recommend it if you can go into it knowing that it's going to be something a little bit different from a normal horror film, even though it will follow kind of a similar path. I think it definitely does deliver on surpassing your expectations. At least it did with me. So that is The Relic. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next film, which is Jackie Chan's First Strike.
The Cold War is over, but a new battle has begun. A terrorist regime
He's now the head of the new Russian mafia.
has stolen the technology.
All units stand by. The enemy has arrived.
To start a nuclear war. And there is only one weapon powerful enough to stop it. Now, Jackie Chan fights for America. For the first time in his biggest action movie ever.
Again, not a bad movie in the month of January. This, of course, follows less than a year after Rumble in the Bronx came out and kind of put Jackie Chan on the map here in America. And the movie actually is kind of fun. Jackie Chan's First Strike, which I find it funny that it's called Jackie Chan's First Strike instead of just being called First Strike. They got to put Jackie Chan on there because they think that probably will sell the movie more. But, I mean, but in the end, when you really think about it, Jackie Chan really is the reason why the movie is so good. I mean, you could tell that Jackie Chan puts a lot of work into these movies that he's in, these early films, including the Super Cop movies and also Rumble in the Bronx. I mean, he really has a charismatic personality to it, and he is a badass action star. I mean, he really does put a lot of effort into these movies, and it's really one of the reasons why I think these movies stick out the most, is because these stories can be very mediocre at times. The story can be very mediocre at times, and sometimes the characters are not the best written, but you can see the action sequences be put to perfect perfection, and Jackie Chan, I think, really does a phenomenal job of handling that, not just as a good action star, but also a good comedic actor, too. You can see why they eventually got him to star with Chris Tucker in the Rush Hour films, which we'll get to later on in '98, but this is a pretty good movie. I was actually really surprised at how much this movie actually held up over time, because I remember seeing it in the video stores, really had no real need to see it. This was even after the Rush Hour movies came out, but I thought it was actually really good. I thought it was a really solid movie. It's another been there. It's something that we've seen done over and over again, but for the most part, it definitely does deliver on what it promises. It's a good, fun action movie, and it shows why Jackie Chan was a ton of fun to watch back in the day. I mean, not to say that he isn't now, but this is a pretty good movie. I definitely say check this one out. So, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, so that probably means the third movie's not going to be that great. So, well, let's see. I mean, Ray Liotta, Lauren Harley, could be good. Is Turbulence any good?
Who is actually flying the aircraft?
Help me get this plane on the ground.
This plane is not gonna land! Crazy! This delay our flight?
Tracking, she's losing altitude. Say your prayers. Turbulence.
Starts Friday, January 10th.
No. I think that trailer pretty much sums up everything that's wrong about this movie. I mean, it has kind of an interesting idea. The serial killer's on an airplane, he's killing people one by one. But, man, Ray Liotta feels like he's overacting the hell out of this, and not in a good way. Like, he's really phoning this in, as is Lauren Harley. I mean, Lauren Harley can be a really good actress, but, man, she is really not trying in this movie. In fact, nobody's really trying in this movie. Not the direction, not the writing. I mean, this is directed by a guy who hasn't made a theatrical film since 1984. And even then, his movies that he made for television were only two mostly forgettable films, Out of Time in 88 and then White Mile in 1994. I mean, this is the guy that directed Disney films like The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and The Barefoot Executive. And that was almost 20 years ago from the time this movie came out. So I don't think this director was really the right choice to go for it. I don't think the script was really all that well written. And not a surprise, this movie kind of fell out of obscurity pretty quickly, especially when you consider that 1997 had 2 far better airplane movies that were action thrillers, Con Air, of course, and Air Force One, of course. So, yeah, no surprise, this one kind of came and went, and probably for a good reason, because it's not a very good movie, and it doesn't help that Ray Liotta is overacting his ass off in this, and he's just not making it work, man. It's a waste of time. It's a big waste of time. The visual effects are not that great. This feels like a movie that's trying to pander to the teen demographic, and this is exactly what you think of when you think of a January dumping ground movie. This is a film that MGM put a lot of money into, $55 million. They bought it from Rysher. They bought it for $1 million, the script for it, and this is the end result we get here. A movie that is not very good and was clearly outshadowed by 2 far superior airplane thrillers. So, with that said, though, I guess it did pretty well on home video, because there was not 1 but 2 direct-to-video sequels. So, somebody liked it. Certainly not me, but yeah, that's pretty much all you gotta know about this movie. Turbulence is a pretty bad film.
In the secret clan of the ninja, there is a legend that foretells a foreign child will come among them and become a ninja master, unlike the world has ever seen. They believe this was the child. They were wrong. Now,
hello?
A mysterious stranger needs his help.
I must go to the hills of Beverly, find Sally Jones and save her.
Bye, everyone!
You're going with him.
No, please. Anything but that.
He must return to the land of his birth.
What are you doing here?
I have come many miles and now travel disguised as a pimp to help you.
And use the ancient teachings of the ninja.
You're a ninja? I took a few karate lessons myself. I'm not as advanced as you. I'm what you might call a tangerine belt.
To seek out the truth.
I am preparing one of our greatest ninja tools, the laughing mushroom. Family is a killer. He killed her sister.
And prove to the world.
I am one with the universe.
I am one with the universe.
No, I am not!
That he is the Great White Ninja.
My identity must remain secret. I cannot reveal it to you.
Why not?
Because I would then have to kill you.
TriStar Pictures presents a film that puts the mortal back in combat. Chris Farley.
I am a trained master in each of the weapons of battle.
Man, that was dope!
Beverly Hills Ninja.
What a fool I was.
So this is a follow-up for both Dennis Dugan, who had just come off of Happy Gilmore the year before, and Chris Farley, who had just come off of both Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. And needless to say, this is essentially a one-joke premise, really. I mean, it's Chris Farley as a ninja, and he's clumsy, and he's all over the place. But you know what? That's kind of the charm of these Chris Farley movies. I mean, these are all that we have left of him, because this is the last film that he starred in before his eventual death. Even though he made a couple of other movies before then, and he was going to be in Trek too. But this is the last film that he starred in before he died later on that year. And I don't think I mentioned this before when I talked about Tommy Boy and Black Sheep, but when Chris Farley died, that was the first real death in my life that really affected me, because I loved watching Chris Farley. I loved watching what he did. I mean, Tommy Boy and Black Sheep are classic films. I loved watching his time on Saturday Night Live. So when he died later in '97, I mean, that was the first real glimpse of death that I ever had as a kid. Like, I saw somebody that I really like leave and he's never coming back. And yeah, that was something that really got to me. But this was, like I said, this was the last movie he made before he died in December of this year. And like I said, it's not a great movie. It is essentially a one-joke premise, but it still has a lot of really funny moments in there. And I think because this is the last movie that Farley did in his life, I think it actually works a lot better than I think most people would give it credit for. You're watching this mostly to see Chris Farley do what Chris Farley did so greatly in his time here on Earth, and it's really funny to watch him in this movie. Like I said, it's a very formulaic story. There's nothing really that intriguing or that interesting here. You can make kind of an argument that this is kind of like a live-action equivalent to something like Kung Fu Panda. But, of course, Kung Fu Panda did that story much better. But, like I said, this is not a bad movie, per se, even though it did get panned at the time of its release. But over time, it's become more of one of those funny movies that's not one of those movies that... It's not an incredible classic film, like one we're going to put up with some of the greatest underrated comedies of all time, but it's still a very funny movie and one of the last real glimpses of Farley's comedic talents. And like I said before, it would have been amazing to see what Farley would have done afterwards. Like, it would have been interesting to see what his Shrek would have been like if he'd been alive to do that. We've already seen a little bit of it because they put some footage out there a long time ago which actually showed him with Eddie Murphy, and that's all we have for it. But yeah, but like I said, this movie overall is a fun movie. It's an enjoyable film. It's got a really good cast to it. It's got some nice visuals to it, and some good comedy, too. Like I said, it's Chris Farley doing what Chris Farley does best. And I think, even though this doesn't have the same caliber as something like a Tommy Boy or a Black Sheep, this one is still very funny. I'd still watch this any day of the week. It's still a very funny movie. I go back to it every once in a while. Not a classic by any means, but it's one I watch all the time. It's a film that you kind of are obligated to if you've ever been a fan of Chris Farley's work. It's kind of a must to watch this movie along with the other movies that he starred in. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I got to say about this one. This is a fun movie. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie. And speaking of Eddie Murphy, as I brought him up, he has a movie out this weekend, and that movie is Metro.
In the city of San Francisco, when hostages are taken,
The suspect is wearing a black vest and t-shirt.
Let's go!
you can do it the easy way,
SWAT wants to go in.
or you can do it his way.
Can I have a dozen donuts, please? Suspect's name? Earl. Okay, Earl. Hey, man, what's in the bag? These are donuts, Earl. Give me my car, man. Everybody relax. Let me get your car right now. Oh, it's one other thing. What? You want a hot top or convertible?
This guy's good.
For Scott Lorber, life is just one negotiation after another.
I'm going to score, metaphorically speaking, of course.
His new partner
I'm the teacher, right? Yes, sir. You're the student? Yes, sir.
needs his experience.
Okay, stop right there. Close your eyes. Okay. Now tell me what you see. You see a scumbag behind the counter with a sword off. There's a female hostage down in front of the cereal rack. And there's a special on toilet paper 4 for $1.29.
And his latest case.
I'm not armed, okay?
All right, Roper, you want to come? Just might leave him speechless. On January 17th.
You have to take this guy out. He's got a real calm and creepy demeanor. The guy's wacko.
A city's only hope is a man armed only with his intelligence.
I got 2 words for you. Seek help.
And his mouth.
Hey, that's my car!
Touchstone Pictures presents.
I don't have a car. What the hell happened to your transaction?
Eddie Murphy.
This is it. This is your ride. What? This is my ride over here. This black car is my ride. This is your ride. Oh, come on now. What am I, red fox?
Metro.
Man, where's your stereo? Never mind the stereo. What's that smell?
So kind of going back to what we had with Beverly Hills Ninja being a follow-up to several different things, this was Eddie Murphy's follow-up to The Nutty Professor, which was the film that helped jumpstart his career again. Unfortunately, this movie did not do well financially. It was a $55 million budgeted film. It only brought back $32 million. It didn't even do well with critics, honestly. But honestly, when I look back on it, I gotta say, this is probably one of Eddie Murphy's most underrated movies. Now, from the first glance of it, I know you can kind of get a feeling that this is kind of a wannabe Beverly Hills Cop movie. I mean, it's pretty much Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley. Instead of him being in Detroit, he's already in California, but in San Francisco. But first off, this is already a better movie than Beverly Hills Cop 3 was, but this movie does work. I mean, Eddie Murphy is back to being very funny. He has a lot of good charisma to him, a lot of very funny a lot of funny material in here to give him. He's very good in this. The dialogue is very solid. The action sequences overall are a ton of fun. It has a really good cast for Murphy to work off. I mean, Michael Rappaport is very good in here. You got Carmen Ejogo in one of her early film roles. You see Art Evans, who was also in Die Hard 2. You see Donald Logan there. There are some really good people in here, and there is a lot of good material here to work with. And it's directed by Thomas Carter, and Thomas Carter has made some pretty good movies. Save the Last Dance, Coach Carter, a couple of really good movies from this guy. He did say that one of the biggest mistakes he made in his career was to make this an R-rated movie, because he also thought that was that was part of the lukewarm reception the film got, which, I don't know. I don't think you could do this with a PG-13 rating, honestly. I think you had to make it R. And yeah, I think it works better because it has the R rating to it. Certainly not one of Eddie Murphy's better movies, but at the same time, it's certainly a lot better than something like Beverly Hills Cop 3. It definitely has a lot of the stuff that makes Eddie Murphy movies funny. I think he's very good in here. He's got a good supporting cast to work around. It's a very good movie, a very underrated Eddie Murphy film. If you have not seen this movie and you want to see some of the best underrated stuff that Murphy has ever done, I'd highly say check this one out. It's definitely worth your time if you're looking for some really good entertainment. It's got some good action, some good comedy. It's very solid all around. It's an enjoyable film. I highly recommend it. So that is Metro. So let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie here, and that is Albino Alligator with Matt Damon.
Relax. Drink your beer. Drink it. Enjoy your evening. There you go.
Where's the report on this man?
And I think end of thought action.
Sharpshooters on the buildings west and south.
Now you're gonna rob me? The day just keeps getting sweeter.
Blueprints for all the buildings in the area.
Kind of.
So I stopped that trailer just before it got to the big twist that takes place in there to make you think that it's not what you think it is. But this is Albino Alligator. This is a film that stars Matt Damon, Faye Dunaway, Gary Sinise. You also see William Fichtner in there, Viggo Mortensen, M. Emmett Walsh, Skeeter Ulrich, Joe Mantegna you see in there, as well as John Spencer. But the thing you don't see is who directed this movie, and this is actually kind of a surprise when I looked this up here. Kevin Spacey directed this movie. I mean, Kevin Spacey, of course, he's best known for his work with The Usual Suspects and Seven and American Beauty, but he also works in Broadway theater. He has directed several things on Broadway, as I recall, and, you know, say what you will about him now, but don't forget, this guy can be a really damn good actor when he needs to be. And you know, this kind of makes me curious to see this film. I've never seen this movie before, but the fact that Kevin Spacey directed this movie, it kind of has my interest to see if it's good or not. It looks like it has a very unique twist on a story that could be very interesting, but it could actually be something pretty interesting. But I see here that it's got a very mixed reception. It's 50%. It's literally 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it definitely can go either way. It could be an ambitious project that falls flat, or maybe it is an underrated gem that nobody really ever talks about. But I've never seen this movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, but I kind of want to see it just on the fact that Kevin Spacey directed this movie. I kind of want to see what he'd do as a director, and hopefully I can find this somewhere out there, but it's definitely got my curiosity, though. With that said, that's Albino Alligator.
Universal Pictures proudly presents a hilarious new comedy that reunites the cast of A Fish Called Wanda. Well, most of the cast. John Cleese.
Coming!
Kevin Kline.
What do you want me to do?
Jamie Lee Curtis. And Michael Palin in Fierce Creatures. Coming soon from Universal Pictures.
Right.
So there's a lot of problems with this film. First off, it claims to be a spiritual successor to A Fish Called Wanda, even though John Cleese is playing the twin brother of his character from A Fish Called Wanda. So it's kind of a spin-off or a sequel, kind of, but at the same time, though, it's not directed by the same guy that did A Fish Called Wanda. It's not directed by Charles Crichton. A lot of this movie really does not have anything really to do with A Fish Called Wanda, but they use that in all of the marketing of the film. And to me, this is a film that really does not work because they're trying to stick to they sold it by sticking to the past instead of actually doing something that could be something really good and really different from what A Fish Called Wanda was. This was something that was written in 1992 by John Cleese. Didn't start filming until 1995. It was completed in August of that year. They previewed it in November, and they did not. The audiences who saw the film, preview audiences, they did not like the ending, so they had to reshoot the ending and other scenes in the film. But they couldn't do that because people got involved in other projects. Michael Palin was working on a show. I think it was a show called Full Circle. Cleese and Johnstone had to write a new ending with William Goldman. The director of the film, Robert Young, was too busy working on another project, so they had to hire Fred Gillespie, who was working on another film, and added $7 million more to the budget to reshoot those scenes. And he tried to get the producers to take out the first 15 minutes of the film, which was done for a test screening, but then some of the footage was put back in while he thought that was the thing that killed the movie. And when you look at this movie, you can kind of see where it went wrong. Like, you could see where it could work, but at the same time, it looks like it's not even trying to follow on the same level of something like what A Fish Called Wanda was. A Fish Called Wanda is a brilliantly funny comedy that works because it's an R-rated, in-your-face comedy with so many silly, over-the-top moments in it. But in this movie, there's ideas that sound like they could be promising, but they're also trying to stick with a PG-13 rating. This is PG-13. This is a much different film compared to A Fish Called Wanda. And to me, this doesn't work because the comedy isn't that strong, the writing isn't all that good, the story is not that well written, it's not an interesting story whatsoever, you don't get to see the true potential of the storyline, and as much as you got most of the people back from A Fish Called Wanda in terms of the cast, they just really aren't given a whole lot to do here. I mean, there's not really a whole lot there that's very funny or creative there, and it was a disappointment when I saw this movie. Finally saw this movie years ago. After how much I loved A Fish Called Wanda, I went in there with higher expectations, and this film really did not deliver on it. This feels like a film that was made specifically for a studio. Like, it feels like a studio-driven film, and if you have to rewrite the ending of a movie and change the opening of it because it didn't fare well with people involved in it, maybe you need to rewrite the whole thing so you can actually get something good out of it. But, yeah, bottom line, the movie really didn't work. It was one of those big disappointments I remember seeing. I mean, like I said, A Fish Called Wanda is a comic masterpiece, but this just feels like they're trying to just stick to come back to the old times, and you can't really do that with a story like this. It's not really that creative. It's not really that strong. The comedy just isn't there. There's so much good talent in this movie, and it just doesn't work as a whole. It's one of the biggest letdowns I've ever had with a movie. I was really looking forward to seeing if this was going to be any good or not, and sadly, this wasn't good enough. So that's Fierce Creatures. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Zeus and Roxanne.
For every child who believes in miracles,
Zeus is an extremely extreme dog.
and for every adult who has forgotten how to believe,
Cool fish.
comes a wondrous tale of friendship
Miracles sometimes happen.
that will bring your whole family together. Steve Gutenberg, Kathleen Quinlan, Zeus and Roxanne, rated PG, starts Friday, January 24th.
So yeah, this is a movie that doesn't make any sense either. So the whole purpose of the story is that you've got these two feuding people. You got this guy who's an aspiring musician, and you have this woman who's a marine biologist, and they really do not get along during the course of the film. And apparently, this relationship between Steve Gutenberg's dog and this dolphin that Kathleen Quinlan's taking care of, their friendship is supposed to be a thing that gets these people together. And there's the whole thing in the middle, towards the end of the movie, where the kids of Kathleen Quinlan's character is just like, if a dog and a dolphin can get along, then why can't his father and our mother do the same thing? And it's just like, is that really what we're supposed to take from this? Like, this is a really lousy movie, man. This is a film that just, like, the whole purpose of it makes no sense whatsoever. The message it's trying to have makes no sense whatsoever. It's got stock characters. None of them are well written whatsoever. Bottom line, it's just a movie that's just not entertaining whatsoever. I mean, it's a movie you look at and you're only going to see it because you see the dog and you see the dolphin. If you're the animal lover, then I guess there's nothing else that could deter you from going to this film. But I certainly didn't like it. So yeah, that's Zeus and Roxanne. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next film, which is Prefontaine.
Small kid from Coos Bay who could run.
There's Prefontaine.
Kid we had to see, a little fire eater.
He was the last you'd expect to finish first.
Hey, guys. Steve Prefontaine. It's the Beverly Hillbillies.
But he had the courage to dream.
Forget Jim Ryan, he's done. I'm gonna be the first Steve Prefontaine. Peace.
The desire to compete.
Cocky little mother.
I'd like to bottle it, force feed it to the rest of you guys.
The will to win.
There's no fall back here, no great stride. Sheep, Bill. No long legs, nothing.
Hollywood Pictures presents...
You're Steve Prefontaine?
I'm not thinking about making the team. I'm thinking about gold in Munich.
The true story.
So that's Steve Prefontaine. That better be worried.
What if I don't win?
I'm scared.
Of one man.
They're afraid of you. Don't be afraid of them.
The peace of the Olympics was shattered.
Who was born to run.
It's all ruined now. This is not how it's supposed to be. I've been dreaming about this since I was 16. Prefontaine!
He shattered the records.
All of my life, people have said to me,
Defied the rules.
you're too small, Pre.
Challenged the limits.
You're not fast enough, Pre. Give up your foolish dreams, Steve. Prefontaine going for the lead! I have to win.
From the producer and director of Hoop Dreams, Prefontaine.
So So a couple of notable things I never noticed about this movie until now. One, it's done by the same guy that did Hoop Dreams, and if you've been following my stuff over the years, you know that Hoop Dreams is one of my all-time favorite movies. Not only that, but you see Ed O'Neill in there, you see R. Lee Ermey, Breckin Meyer, Kurtwood Smith's also in here, but Jared Leto makes his film debut in this, playing Steve Prefontaine, and yeah, that kind of makes me want to see this movie. I mean, all that talent there, a story that apparently is so good they've actually made more than one movie about this guy. The other one is a film called Without Limits, which actually comes out the following year, and that's directed by Robert Towne. As far as the movie itself goes, I haven't seen it, but judging by that cast and the fact that it's directed by the director of one of my favorite movies of all time, kind of makes me want to see it. It kind of looks like it could be a very interesting story, but as far as everything else goes, there's nothing really I can say about it because I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much, but it's definitely got my interest just for the fact that it has all those people involved in it alone, so maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. But as for now, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Koila.
Had the perfect bachelor's life, a prestigious career, and a stream of beautiful women. But he's about to make a gigantic mistake. She's Russian. She wants out of her country, and she'll pay him more money than he'll ever make for an arranged marriage.
Okay, so this one is very confusing on Box Office Mojo because when I looked for this movie on there, it was called Koila, K-O-Y-L-A. There's another movie that came out in 1997 with that title that is completely different from what I'm about to talk about here. The one that's listed on here is a 1997 Indian Hindu language action thriller that looks like a Bollywood movie, kind of not even a Bollywood movie. It looks like it's a movie from another country, but this one is from another country. But this is, I think, the right movie. It's so weird. If I go on the Box Office Mojo's page, let me just show you right here. Yeah, right there is Koila. But if I click that, that's what comes up. And that looks completely different from the movie that I'm about to talk about, even though it has the same production company behind it, Miramax Films. So this film here is basically the story of a bachelor who basically gets the surprise of his life with a get-rich-quick scheme backfires and leaves him with a new roommate, apparently the son of the woman he had an affair with. And apparently this was a big success. It won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the Golden Globe for Foreign Language Film in 96, or 97, I should say. But I really don't know anything else about this movie. I just thought that was really interesting when I looked this up, and another movie with with basically the same title, except the letters L and Y are reversed, came up on there. So yeah, that's very odd one, I should say the least. I haven't seen this one, either one of them, so I can't really say if either one of them is good or not. But that was very interesting when I found that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last movie, and that is Reggie White, NFL star Reggie White, starring in a movie called Reggie's Prayer.
Is it worth leaving behind all you've gained to gain back one that's been lost?
Coaches, fellow players, members of the press, and most importantly, my fans. Today, I'm announcing my retirement as a professional football player.
Reggie, this is quite a shock to all of us. Why now? Is it an injury? Is it your contract?
I'm going to become the head football coach and history teacher at Portland Central High School.
Reggie, you could sign an $8 million extension. You could go to the broadcast booth. You could have anything you want right now. High school?
Listen up! Listen!
Can one man really make a difference?
True mark of a champion is not what he keeps. It's what he gives away.
Yeah, this is a weird movie. This literally came out, I think, the same weekend he was playing in the Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. For one thing, I never knew Reggie White actually starred in the movie, but he basically is playing himself, kind of, with a different last name. He retires after the season to become a 10th grade history teacher and the head coach of a high school football team in Portland, Oregon. You see cameos from Brett Favre and Mike Holmgren. Keith Jackson's also in here. MC Hammer also has a cameo too, which, this is a weird-looking movie, man. I've never seen it before, but I kind of want to see it now because this sounds completely ridiculous and looks ridiculous just from the trailer alone. I mean, the little bit I showed you there, like I don't know what the heck's going on in this movie, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see it, maybe for a potential bad movie, for a so bad it's good type of experience, but yeah. That is a weird movie that he's in. I mean, who knows? It could actually be good, but considering that Wikipedia literally has nothing on it, and just, you have to go to Reggie White's page on there to see what this is about, probably not a good sign. So, maybe if I can find it someday, maybe I might check it out just to see if it's as ridiculous as it looks, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's actually something special, but I sincerely doubt it. But
entire generation, people have experienced Star Wars the only way it's been possible, on the TV screen. But if you've only seen it this way, you haven't seen it at all.
Now, for its 20th anniversary, the adventure of a lifetime returns to the big screen in a way you've never seen before.
There'll be no one to stop us this time.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
With newly enhanced visual effects,
They're coming in too fast!
PHX and digital sound, and a few new surprises.
What's a double ride?
Look, Jabba, next time you want to talk to me, come see me yourself.
Here they come!
This January,
Good luck.
George Lucas and 20th Century Fox invite you to welcome back Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2. Finally, the motion picture event, the way it was meant to be experienced.
This will be a day long remembered.
As the entire Star Wars trilogy returns. On January 31st, Star Wars. On February 21st, The Empire Strikes Back. Then on March 7th, Return of the Jedi.
Move closer!
For a whole new generation who have yet to experience it on the big screen. And for everyone else to experience it again.
That boy is our last hope. No, there is another.
The Star Wars Trilogy, Special Edition. See it again, for the first time.
The Force will be with you, always.
now, of course, this is not the first time Star Wars has been re-released in theaters. In fact, it was re-released several times, including in 1978, 79, 81, and 82, but keep in mind that Star Wars had never been released on home video, and it wasn't released on home video until well after the fact. It didn't come out until, I think it was 1983 or 84, because I know it was on CBS. It made its TV debut on CBS, I think, in 83, and I think it came out in video shortly afterwards. I need to look that up, but I think that's what happened, but don't quote me on that. But this came around mostly because of what happened with Jurassic Park. I mean, Industrial Light and Magic made the CGI for that, and George Lucas basically decided that digital technology had to catch up to his original vision for Star Wars. So, for the film's 20th anniversary in 1997, they re-released all the Star Wars movies at that point. They made some changes, including the altered scenes, and re-released it to theaters, which also included The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The big thing about these special editions was that the visual shots and scenes that were unachievable in the original era were finally able to catch up, and so they were updated. There was another scene including Han Solo and Jabba the Hutt that was added to the film. There's a controversial decision where they make the changes where Greedo shoots Han first when confronting Han Solo, but as you see in the original cut of the film, Han was the one that shot first, and it required extensive recovery of misplaced footage and restoration of the whole film before Lucas's special effects modifications could be made. And Also, in part, this was a test for George Lucas. He wanted to see if there was a demand for Star Wars still to potentially do his long talked about sequel trilogy, or prequel trilogy, I should say, prequel trilogy, and these re-releases proved not only to be successful but really successful. I mean, the weekend this came out, this made $35 million, and for a re-release, that's amazing, because re-releases do not usually make big amounts of money unless there's something really special about them. And the way they were building it up, I mean, just that trailer alone, I mean, they set it up so much that people demanded to see Star Wars on a big screen, and a lot of people still hadn't seen Star Wars on a big screen. Like I said, it had been almost 15 years after the last time Star Wars was in theaters, and the only way to watch it was on video or on television. So, yeah, you can definitely tell the hype was real with this one, and yeah, the changes made, the modified computer-generated effects, the altered dialogue, re-edited shots, remixed soundtracks, added scenes, it could be a little bit distracting, but I will say this, it's fine for what it is. It doesn't change the overall course of the film itself. It doesn't change the overall enjoyment of the original Star Wars. Now, the re-releases that Lucas made down the line when the film went to Blu-ray, that we can easily agree that those mistakes there were those were big mistakes that they made right there. I mean, that's something that really when the Blu-rays for that came out, I think that was when we really needed to talk about those changes here. But considering what this was, and like I said, it was a test to see if there was still a demand for Star Wars, because of course he'd been talking about doing this prequel trilogy ever since the original original Star Wars trilogy ended with Return of the Jedi, and of course the rest is history. 2 years later, we get the Phantom Menace, and we'll eventually delve into that as we go along. But as far as the special edition goes, it's fine for what it is. I mean, it's still an enjoyable film. It's still the original Star Wars. It's not doing anything too crazy, too ridiculous, or anything. It makes any major significant changes that affect the overall enjoyment of the film. Like I said, the Blu-ray versions of this, I think, are where the changes really start to get a little ridiculous. But when I saw this back in 1997, I didn't get to see this in theaters, unfortunately, and I honestly have never seen the original Star Wars trilogy on video before, on theaters, I should say. I only saw them on video or when they were on television, and it's a shame, because I really would have liked to experience these on the big screen. I was hoping Return of the Jedi would be on the big screen close to where I live, when they had that re-release for the 40th anniversary a couple weeks ago. Fortunately, it never came, so that still kind of ticks me off that wasn't there. But I mean, this movie is still Star Wars. The original Star Wars is still a great film. It's still an amazing film and an amazing experience for the time. I mean, the visual effects for this new version are still very nicely done. They still look really impressive, and the changes they make, they're not bad changes. I mean, they're not the best changes possible, but it still doesn't take away from the enjoyment factor of the movie. I mean, it's still a very enjoyable film, regardless of these new effects that they added for this particular release. And other than that, what more do I have to say about the movie itself? I mean, the original Star Wars is a classic film, a great movie, a great epic adventure that started the tradition. That was one of maybe the big summer blockbuster that started the summer blockbuster as a whole after Jaws. I mean, what else do I really need to say about this movie? It's an amazing film. I don't think I have any more to say about it. It's just a great film, and I really wish I had some more to say, but really, there's nothing more I can say about it. And that was the first of the re-releases. Empire Strikes Back would come a couple weeks later, but we'll eventually get to that when we get to that weekend. But in the meantime, let's head on to the next movie, and that is Tim Roth and Tupac Shakur in Gridlock'd.
Yeah, I've been feeling like my lungs were running out. Why these fools trying to kill me? I'm focused on my eyes and pride, but if I don't, it's over. Tim Roth, I'm just falling apart. Tupac Shakur, I don't want to go out like that, man. Gridlock'd, rated R. Soundtrack on Death Row, featuring a new song from Tupac and Snoop Doggy Dogg. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
So several things to really keep in mind with this particular film. This was actually released over 4 months after Tupac Shakur had been murdered in Las Vegas in a drive-by shooting. And this was one of the first of 2 films that actually came out after his death. Tupac Shakur had been in a couple of other movies. Some of them have actually been... And he wasn't a bad actor, per se. I mean, he did star in a lot of really good movies. I mean, Juice, Poetic Justice. I thought he was pretty good in Above the Rim. Bullets is one I don't. I mean, Bullet I never saw, but I didn't hear any good things about that one. But this movie, he plays one of 3 heroin addicts. He plays Spoon. He has 2 other people. It follows 2 other people: Stretch, played by Tim Roth, and Cookie, played by Tandy Newton. They're in a band in the spoken word genre called 8 Mile Word, with Cookie on the lead vocals, Spoon on bass guitar, and Stretch on piano. Spoon and Stretch decide to kick their habit after Cookie overdoses on her first hit, and throughout this disastrous day, the 2 addicts dodge police and local criminals while struggling with an apathetic government bureaucracy that thwarts the entrance to a drug rehabilitation program. And it's a very compelling film. It's a movie that nobody really talks about because this film did not perform well at the box office, despite what had happened 4 months prior. Like, you'd think, you see a movie with a man that just lost his life 4 months ago, you would think that would build the hype up a little bit because he's one of the main stars in it, but nobody went to go see this movie. It quickly came and went, and I'm not even sure it even has a cult following, honestly, when I really think about it, because, like I said, nobody really talks about the movie. I mean, the soundtrack was a big hit, but of course, that was because of the music, of course. But as far as the movie itself goes, I think it's a really good, underrated little gem here. You've got really good actors around here. Tim Roth, Tandy Newton, Charles Fleischer has a really good role in this as well. Howard Hessman, and like I said, Tupac Shakur is very good in here. It's directed by Vondi Curtis Hall, who's a very prolific character actor and director. At this point, he was best known for his work on Chicago Hope. He's directed a lot of notable movies, Waist Deep. Most notably, his next film would be kind of a major misfire, and that was the Mariah Carey movie Glitter, but we'll eventually get to that one. But as far as this film goes, it's a really solid movie. It's a really solid film that is kind of like a 90s equivalent to something like Drugstore Cowboy, and I think and then some. It's more intense than Drugstore Cowboy is, and you really like these characters a lot, and you really get invested in the story that's going on here. It's kind of a mix of both Drugstore Cowboy and Trainspotting, which had just come out not but a few months after this. But the movie overall is very good. It's a film that's a very underrated film, has a lot of good performances, Roth, Shakur, and Tandy Newton, and I think it really is a very underrated film. I never hear anybody really talk about this film, but it's a very good film. It's a very solid film that really shows the acting range of Tupac Shakur. I think he does a fantastic job in this film, and I think him and a lot of the performances carry the film over. It's a solidly made film, very underrated movie. If you can find this movie somewhere, definitely check it out. You will not be disappointed by it. That is Gridlock'd. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Meet Wally Sparks, starring Rodney Dangerfield.
Who's back? Just take those old records where he doesn't belong.
What do you like tell the guys I had you in my cab?
First of all, you never had me. But if you did have me, it wouldn't be in a cab. Rodney Dangerfield is Sparks. Why do you say we all get naked and see who the best man is?
No!
He's a lover.
I don't believe in casual sex.
Hey, it won't be casual. I'll keep my tie on. He's a player.
What have you got, Wally?
I got it straight, but I can't show it to you. He's a thoughtful guest. Do me a favor, will you scratch my back? That's the spot. Oh, honey, I'll marry you. He's a nature lover. Where did you come from? Hey, get out of here, will you? That squirrel. He was after my macadamias. He's a ladies' man. Hey, Governor, you can take her upstairs. She's ready now. And he's out to prove. Run for your life! Run hard! That when it comes to partying, nobody does it better. He got me right in the touche. Oh! It's lonely at the top when there's no one on the bus. Rodney Dangerfield. Hey, you two should find a room. Meet Wally Sparks. You two should find a warehouse. He's a menace. Well, what happened? Your husband come home? To high society. Oh, pardon me. Honey, if I was with you right now, I'd give it to you real good. Well, what's that? My 3 minutes are up, huh?
Talk about another trailer that used to be all over the place when I was younger. I mean, this is a trailer that used to be seen on a lot of the. Whenever Trimark Home Video had the video rights to Saturday Night Live, you would always see this trailer at the beginning of most of the DVDs and the videos for this movie. And I love Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, this movie I love Rodney Dangerfield, and that was just perfect timing for me because I kind of wanted to see this movie largely because of the fact that he was in this film. And the trailer for this is much. Let me just say this: the trailer I think makes it more funnier than the actual movie is. You basically have Rodney Dangerfield playing this host of a lowbrow talk show who goes out of his way to shock and offend his fans, but he eventually goes too far and begins to lose his audience. And keep in mind, this was released in 1997, and Jerry Springer was just about to go into his, I think at this point he was in his trash television era of his talk show. Because remember, the Jerry Springer Show started out like a normal daytime talk show, and then all of a sudden it suddenly jumped into shock television and trash TV. And I think at this point, I don't even think the Maury Povich Show was even at that point yet. But still, like, it's amazing to think that whatever Rodney Dangerfield does in this movie, that's what gets people to step away from him. But meanwhile, Jerry Springer gets more crazier from this point on. But anyway, tasked with finding a way to boost ratings for the network, the head of the network, played by Burt Reynolds, by the way. He goes out to one of his chief critics, the Southern governor, played by David Ogden Stiers, who he basically goes to this party to try to get through the scandal that's going on with him, and misadventures ensue. And like I said before, a lot of the funny jokes in this movie are specifically in the trailer, honestly. I mean, this whole movie feels like, the character that Rodney Dangerfield played in Caddyshack. Now I can't remember his name. I know I'm just looking right now, but Al Cervic. Like, it feels like this would have been something perfect for a spin-off film of that character, because you see the way Rodney dresses in this movie. He looks exactly like that guy from Caddyshack, and if they really would have wanted to make this a spin-off to that character in Caddyshack, maybe it would have worked if you did this 10 years prior to this. But then again, it certainly would be a whole lot better than the Caddyshack 2 that we actually got with Jackie Mason. But yeah, like I said before, a lot of the funny jokes in this movie are in the trailer. I was watching this movie mostly because of the fact that it's Rodney Dangerfield, man. The guy is very funny. Like, his quippy one-liners, his comebacks, just hilarious. And sadly, I think the trailer uses a lot of those in there. Like, the movie itself, it's not as funny as you would think it is. Most of the funny jokes that are in here are in the trailer, sadly, and it's a bummer too. I mean, everybody else it's got a packed cast here. I mean, you've got Debbie Mazar, you got Cindy Williams, Alan Rations, Michael Weatherly pre-NCIS, the aforementioned Burt Reynolds and David Ogden Stiers, Lenny Clarkson here, Tony Danza, Leslie Ann Down, Karen Duffy, Gilbert Godfrey, Ron Jeremy is in here, John Melendez, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Bob Saget, Julia Sweeney, George Wallace, and that's not including all the cameos from the people themselves, like a lot of the daytime hosts of the time. Morton Downey Jr., John Henson, Jay Leno, George Hamilton, Sally Jesse Raphael, Geraldo Rivera, Jerry Springer, Rolando Watts, Tim Allen, Michael Bolton, Roseanne. I mean, this thing has a packed cast to it, and it's just like I said before, it's most of the funny jokes in here are in the trailer. I think the one-liners and the quippy comedy that Rodney Dangerfield is become used to, most of that stuff is in the trailer. It gets silly at times, it's a little bit ridiculous, but it's still funny stuff. But at the same time, the movie itself, it's just kind of formulaic. I mean, it's not a bad movie per se, because it does have Rodney Dangerfield doing what Rodney Dangerfield does so well, but at the same time, it's just kind of like the movie really doesn't have a whole lot there to make it that funny or unique. Like I said, if this was a spin-off of the Caddyshack character and made 10 years prior, then maybe you could have had something there. But as it is, it's a mostly forgettable film with a great trailer, but the movie itself is not that great either. I still like it a little bit because it is Rodney Dangerfield doing what Rodney Dangerfield does so well. I just wish it had a better story and some better comedy to work with instead of just wasting all the best jokes in the trailer. But that's just my personal opinion on it. So yeah, that's Meet Wally Sparks. So let's go ahead and move on to our next film, and that is Charlie Sheen in Shadow Conspiracy.
White House aide Bobby Bishop knows too much.
I've been shot at.
Now he's about to go from a target
We found something.
Somebody's got to know about this.
to a suspect.
Why am I under surveillance?
I've been ordered to bring you in with 12 hours to uncover the conspiracy.
You said that I'd never believe in anything enough to go down for it. You were wrong.
He's in the building.
Future of the country in our hands. Charlie Sheen, Shadow Conspiracy. Rated R. Starts Friday, January 31st.
Once again, wasting really good talent in this movie. A lot of very good people in here. Charlie Sheen, Donald Sutherland, Linda Hamilton, Stephen Lang, Ben Gazzara, Sam Waterston, Nicholas Turturro, Terry O'Quinn, even Gore Vidal is in this film. And it's just a formulaic political thriller, not even a very good political thriller. It's a film where it's trying to be kind of like a different kind of Jack Ryan, and it just can't deliver on that. You have Charlie Sheen playing the special aide to the President of the United States. He finds out a plot to assassinate the president from a former professor. That professor was murdered shortly thereafter, and Bobby's left to try to uncover the conspiracy of his own. And he tries to get this friend, played by Linda Hamilton, to help him out and try to stop the assassination. And I think you can kind of tell where everything is going to go here. It's a shame because this is also directed by George P. Cosmatos, whose last movie, Tombstone, was such a great movie. And this is what happens afterwards. Like, this is the thing you follow it up with. This is the last film he directed because he died almost 10 years after this movie came out. And what a way for a career to end with a mediocre political thriller like this one. I mean, maybe there could have been something interesting here if he had taken more time to put a better script together. But yeah, other than that, though, this is a pretty forgettable movie. It's a film that has way too many talented people involved and not a good enough script for them to really carry the load here. A very major disappointment. No wonder. This is one of those reasons. This is a movie that just screams out January dumping ground movie. So, with that said, let us move on to the next movie, and that is Scott Silver's Johns.
John is my best friend.
You just want.
You don't have to worry about me, man. I am always right on time.
Scott Silver, Lucas Haas, David Arquette.
We're gonna be the best damn lifeguards they ever had in Camelot. You bet. Sure as we learn how to swim.
Johns.
Now, Scott Silver, of course, has become more well-known as a writer. He's written more better films than this particular movie here. He wrote 8 Mile, he wrote The Fighter, The Finest Hours, and both the Joker movies. This is the one of only 2 movies he ever directed, and this stars David Arquette and Lucas Haas. In a way, it's kind of a little bit reminiscent to something like Bound, except instead of Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon, you're replacing it with David Arquette and Lucas Haas. And it is kind of very similar to that because it's revealed in here that these guys are gay. I think, if I remember correctly, in this movie they're both gay. I think that's what it is. I can't remember for sure because it's been a while since I've seen this film. As far as the movie itself goes, I don't really remember too much about it. I watched it once a couple years ago, but I never really had any real desire to go back to it. From what I saw with it, it wasn't really a terrible movie. I thought the acting overall was pretty decent. It does kind of set itself up to try to be kind of like a Midnight Cowboy for the 90s. I mean, that's literally one of the critical reviews for it. And in a way, I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think this has the same strength as something like Midnight Cowboy does. Even though it has a really good cast to it. Keith David is also in here. Elliot Gould, Terrence Howard, Nicky Katt, Richard Kind, John C. McGinley, Alana Ubach, Craig Bierko. Some notable names in here, but yeah, as far as the movie itself goes, I don't really remember too much about it to really say I want to check it out again, but from the one time I saw it, I thought it was alright for what it was. Take that for what you will, but that's pretty much all I know about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Christopher Guest's Waiting for Government.
City Council of Blaine gave me the responsibility of putting together a show to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Blaine. I took the whole history of the town and I squeezed it like a piece of fresh bread.
I think the one really important thing that I learned in working with Corky is that I do indeed have talent.
Bumblebee made a kishka, Jim made it big and fat. Mazada took one look at it and said, I can't eat that.
I have found here in Blaine a gold mine of talent. I think Johnny would be so perfect, don't you?
He could be the next Keanu Reeves.
We've got Ron and Sheila on board again.
Midnight at the old
Newcomer Alan Pearl.
I have a very lazy eye, which these prescription glasses help.
Libby.
I've been working here at the DQ for about
And of course, Lloyd and I, it's like rams butting heads.
Certainly, Corky has brought something to our little theatrical community. He's definitely different.
You know, he can just do everything there is to do, and there's only one other person in the world that can do that, and that's Barbara Streisand.
I have a little announcement to make. Mort Guffman is going to come from New York City and see our show. We have one shot at this. We've got one performance. With Mort Guffman coming to town, we need to hitch up our panties and run.
So this was kind of the film that pushed Christopher Guest back into the mainstream spotlight. I mean, he directed a couple of other movies before this, The Big Picture, which we talked about before, and a remake of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman with Daryl Hannah that was on HBO in 1993 that has been largely forgotten, but this was the movie that kind of turned it all around. This is the movie that kind of pushed him to have a successful film career after this as a director, because he directed this. He also wrote it along with Eugene Levy and starred in it. You see a lot of the people from SCTV in this. Him, Eugene Levy, Fred Willard, Catherine O'Hara, Parker Posey, Louis Arquette, Bob Balaban, Brian Doyle Murray, Larry Miller, David Cross, Bob Odenkirk. Just a combination of people from the SCTV and a new generation of talents. I mean, Bob Odenkirk and David Cross had just done Mr. Show, and you also have a bunch of talents that you've seen on other things, like Parker Posey is a rising actress at the time, Bob Balaban from Seinfeld, and the movie was a ton of fun. It's a fun little mockumentary. It's a very fun, very clever mockumentary film, and it's very deadpan comedy, but it's very well written comedy. A lot of the dialogue is heavily improvised, and they do a very good job of putting this together as a mockumentary about the production of a stage musical, and then waiting for this successful guy to come in, and he never shows up in the movie. That's and it makes it really clever for what it is. It's a comedy that really plays with your expectations, but gives you this very funny material that allows for a lot of really incredible, hilarious stuff here. I mean, this is a really funny movie, and it's working mostly because of the comedy of Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy and these actors' ability to improvise, and it led on to them creating very funny comedy shortly after this. I mean, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, For Your Consideration. These are very funny, clever movies that are just so very much of the style of something you'd expect from these veterans of comedy, and it's a really funny movie, man. I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. Ton of great laughs all around. One of the best mockumentary comedies you'll ever see. Waiting for Guffman. Not much more I got to say about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the last film that we have here, which is Prisoner of the Mountains.
Prisoner of the Mountains, Academy Award nominee for Best Foreign Language Film. An extraordinary story of hope, power, and humanity. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs up. The New York Times calls it strong, exotic, and beautiful. One of the very best films you'll see in 1997. Prisoner of the Mountains, rated R, now playing.
So this right here is a Russian war drama illustrating the conflicting views between traditional Chechen culture and Russian warfare through the use of soundtrack, costuming, and arms. The personal confrontation between 2 Russian soldiers and these Chechen captors is the main theme of the film, which is shot in the mountains of Dagestan, mostly in the Isle of Rysher, whose inhabitants are mentioned in the film's credits. And you're basically following all these different people, the Russian soldiers, the Chechens, and it's taking place over the course of the First Chechen War. And the only other thing I can tell you about it, it was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film that year at the Oscars. But other than that, though, I really do not know anything about this movie except for one last thing I'll say. It's that it's based off of the Leo Tolstoy war-era story from the 1872 Caucasian War, The Prisoner of the Caucasus. But other than that, though, I've never seen this movie, so I can't really say anything if it's good or not. But been nominated for Oscars and Golden Globes for Best Foreign Language Film, so it's got to be worth something, I guess. But I wish I had some more to tell you about it, but I know nothing else about it. So that's Prisoner of the Mountains.